Dark Cloud was developed by Level 5 and was published by Sony. It is the first game to be developed by Level 5. Originally, the game was meant to be a launch title, but had to be released a few months later. Upon its release, it was very well received by critics, however, it didn't gain a lot of popularity in the US. So what do I think of the game? Is it good, bad, or just meh? The story begins with an evil man referred to as Flag. Flag is commencing a ceremony to summon the creature called the Dark Genie. The ceremony is successful, and Flag uses the Dark Genie to destroy the world. Meanwhile, in a small village called Naroon, people are getting ready for a festival. Toan, a young boy who lives in the village, is going to the festival. However, upon doing so, the village is attacked by the Dark Genie. Just moments before the attack, Toan is saved by the Spirit King, who has also saved everyone else in special orbs. The Spirit King has chosen Toan to awaken everyone from their orbs and to help save the world. In terms of the overall plot, it's pretty basic with a bad guy who needs to be stopped. It's not very strong simply because there isn't much known about the villain. However, the game's strong point in storytelling is its side stories that focus around the side characters, and some of these are good while others are simply fun, which I like. It makes me feel like the gameplay was more important than the story, which I'm okay with. In terms of characters, Toan is a silent protagonist type, which is okay, and Xiao comes out of nowhere, while the rest of the characters have more expressive and understandable personalities. Dark Cloud is both a dungeon crawler and a town builder. What's surprising is how well the game manages to blend the two. Let's start off with the dungeon crawler part first. Dungeons are broken up into floors which you can take on one at a time. There are the typical things you can do in the dungeons like fighting monsters and opening chests, which both work pretty well, especially fighting monsters thanks to a lock-on system. In this game, you'll have to kill monsters in order to find a key that lets you to go on to the next floor. Floors are easy to navigate thanks to a map that fills itself up. On most of these floors, there are orbs that you'll have to collect with Toan, and these are needed for outside the dungeon. But as you get further in the game, you'll gain other characters to play as. The other characters are needed to get past certain areas of the dungeon, and certain floors will restrict you to certain characters, along with some floors setting other kind of restrictions. While in a dungeon, your character will get thirsty, and once they become dehydrated, they will start to lose health. Also, there's an interesting weapon system. When you attack a monster, your weapon will lose some endurance, and if it loses too much endurance, the weapon will break, which can be quite frustrating if you lose a really strong weapon. But every time you kill a monster, your weapon will gain experience points, and once your weapon has gained enough experience points, you can then power your weapon up. You use special items that can help increase certain stats of your weapon, and certain weapons require certain stats to be increased before you can upgrade your weapon, which is a really cool system, and trying to upgrade your weapon can be really addictive. At the end of each dungeon there is a boss fight, and they are mostly good but can be frustrating. The most annoying part about being in dungeons is the camera, as when in narrow areas it can act out and make it much harder to see the monsters. Outside the dungeon is where you will be doing the town building. The town building is set up much like any Sims game, and it's fun to create your own town by placing buildings and objects where you want to. However, like I said, you need to collect the orbs in dungeons in order to get objects and buildings. Each building will require objects to be placed inside them in order to trigger events to continue the story. It's in the towns that you build where you can buy items that are very helpful, like food that heals you, water that hydrates you, and powder that repairs your weapons, and much more. Also, you can find red chests in the towns, and some of the chests contain special items. These special items can be used to increase your character's health, defense, and thirst. You can also talk to the villagers to see how they would prefer the town to be built. However, one of the best things in the game is a map from your menu screen that you can use to instantly warp to any location. You can also go fishing in the game, and the fishing minigame has its own benefits as you can be rewarded certain items if you do pretty well at fishing. Visually, the game looks good. Areas are nicely detailed, and the day and night cycle in the towns is nicely atmospheric. Some of the dungeons are visually interesting, however the others are rather dull. The character models are decently animated, however there are some awkward movements. The cartoon-like art style of the game is something I really like, as I think it fits the game's more upbeat and relaxed tone. I've heard some people say that the game's graphics look like a PS1's FMV, which I think is a fitting way to describe the game's graphics. The music is very great, as most of it is rather relaxing and there are some pleasant tunes to listen to. Overall, I would have to say Dark Cloud is a unique dungeon crawler experience. I like the blend of the two gameplay styles, as the town building is a nice way to take a break from the dungeon crawling. However, because this is a dungeon crawler game, it can be rather difficult, so anyone new to dungeon crawlers might want to avoid this game. In the end, I find Dark Cloud to be a good game. Sure, the story isn't anything special, but it's the gameplay that really shines. If you enjoy dungeon crawlers and you want to try something different, then you should definitely give this game a try. It's easy to find yourself spending 3 hours on the game when you only meant to play for an hour. As for a first game by level 5, I find it to be a good start to their career. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I also hope you found it to be reasonably informative. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please check out my channel and subscribe if you'd like. If there's a certain PS2 game you'd like to see me cover sometime in the future, then please leave a suggestion down below. I'm MCB, the PS2 Gamer, and I'll see you guys next time.